Hey, this is Anthony back at the Gazelle Lab. Today we have the first ever tablet battle between the Samsung Galaxy Tab and the Apple iPad. So the iPad was released back in April. I've had it since July. This version is it's the 32 gigabyte 3G. And the Galaxy Tab I actually just got last week. This is the version for Sprint. I've been using it for a week. So I figured I'd finally get around to do this review. I had a couple requests for it, so let's just get into this right away. So we can tell from just by looking at it the size of these things. The iPad is a lot bigger. So on the iPad we have a 9.7 inch screen. So compared to just a 7-inch screen on the Galaxy Tab. That was my email going off. In terms of resolution, the Galaxy Tab has a 1024 by 600, while the iPad has 1024 by 768. So I don't know, the resolutions, I think they're good on both. Sometimes the Galaxy Tab can look a little grainy. Maybe it might just be the applications because they're not made for not really made for Android 2.2. So that should be cleaned up once Honeycomb 3.0. which they say it's going to be better optimized for tablets, comes out. In terms of processor, they both have one gigabyte processors, 1 gigahertz processors in there. Excuse me. The Cortex 8, the Hummingbird, like all the Galaxy S phones, and the A4 chip, same one that's in the iPhone. In terms of actual dimensions, hardware dimensions, we have 190 by 120 by 12 thin for the Galaxy Tab. Sorry, this is kind of hard because they're so big. I'm not used to reviewing things this big. And 242 by 189 by 13, so it's a little bit thicker on the iPad, but obviously it's a lot bigger, so that makes up for it. Now I'll get into the hardware, the actual buttons. I'll do it one by one because they're pretty difficult to put next to each other. So we have the standard home key, the USB, well, their Apple connector slot, the SIM card slot right here. The volume rocker up and down. Right now, this is now a mute button because I updated to 4.2, which is kind of, it used to be the orientation, to lock orientation, like the accelerometer, but now it's a mute button, which is really strange. And then on top, you have the power button and the 3.5 jack. And then on the Galaxy Tab, you have, it kind of just feels like a big Android phone to me. So, like I use Android for my mobile device, you still use the Desire. So right here, your menu key, your classic for Android, home key, back key, search key. It's weird, it's not a classic Samsung charging slot. It kind of looks like an iPad connector. And your 2 speakers. And then over here you have micro SD, volume, up and down, power, 3.5 jack, and the mic is just on that side. And then the big differentiator, the 3 megapixel camera with LED flash on the back. This is the Samsung Sprint version, and on the front you have the front camera too. Okay, so like I said, it does have a 3 megapixel camera, and the iPad obviously we're gonna wait till version 2 for the camera. It does shoot video too at a pretty decent video, I think it's 720p, 30 frames per second. Nothing too crazy. Browser, the standard browser is a Chrome browser with Flash. I use a Dolphin browser on all my Android devices. Email, it's Gmail, just like, it's great. Just set up just like a regular Android device. GPS, Bluetooth. Battery, you get 7 hours out of this battery. It's pretty decent battery. It's not. I think the iPad has a really good battery. I use this on plane rides. I went to Tokyo. I got like 12-hour plane ride from San Francisco. I got about 4 movies out of here, so it's pretty good. It's like 10 hours of battery life on this thing, which is fantastic. Like, yeah, this is the 4.2 updated version, so you can see I have all folders in here. So, like, you can group things. It makes things a lot easier in games. So in terms of design and hardware, I think they're both great. You know, they're totally different. Like one's made for portability and it's only 7 inches, you can move it around, and one is more like kind of like a laptop replacement and in between device. So I still think they're two different markets right now. I found myself at home a lot going for the Galaxy Tab just because it was so much easier to carry around. But when I travel, I still love my iPad. Next, I'll break down the UI a little. So if you want to see some screen resolution. I'm going to start up Angry Birds, the older version I have for Angry Birds. Like this one on both screens, so we can actually see the difference in these things. It's a classic tune. Let me shut that off. So if you can get there's your starting screens. They're both pretty bright. Like this has that Super AMOLED display, so it's very nice. So it's let's get into this. So we'll just go on the first level for each of these, and they're both pretty zippy with these 1 GHz processors. So honestly, I like using them. Obviously, gaming is a little bit, in terms of like playing, I find it a little easier on the Galaxy, but it's because it's much smaller. The controls are easier, but everything looks a lot nicer on that big screen. You know, so let's just fire one. So the game looks nice on both of them. Just it's personal preference of what screen size you prefer when it comes to these things. So get out of here. Okay, so that was the UI. And in terms of marketplace, in terms of apps, you have the marketplace over here for Android. It's like classic Android. And you have the App Store over here. There's still a lot. In terms of apps, like these are all using Android phone apps, so everything's there. It's just they're really not optimized for the tablet, for this big screen yet. In terms of the App Store, you do have dedicated iPad apps, like Slingbox just came out with the iPad app. It's fantastic, and it comes out a lot better than it does. I have it on both of these right now. The iPad one does look a lot better. If you want to see the browser, we can take a look at the browser real quick. So I'll go into the standard browser for both of these. So let me just go to one thing I noticed with the Galaxy Tab, it defaults to mobile every time when you're when you go online. So I'll just bring up Apple over here. Oh, it's a good opportunity to look at the keypad on both of these while I'm here. So this is the keypad in portrait mode on the iPad, and then we'll do it in landscape mode, and then I'll pull it up again on here. So like I said, you have a lot more space with the iPad just because of the bigger screen. So and you do have swipe. If you want to use swipe, you have swipe on this too, which I still do not use. So let's put these back. So there's the web on both of these things. Like they both look good. It just, for 7 inches, this is amazing, and for 9 points to 10 inches, this is amazing. Just depends on what size you prefer. So your last deciding factor is probably going to be price. The Galaxy Tab is kind of expensive for what you're getting. You're almost paying the same price, and you're getting half as much as product almost. So these are like $5.99, $3.99. You can subsidize these if you get a contract with it's on all 4 carriers, just like the Galaxy S. T-Mobile, Sprint, at&t, and Sprint. And this Wi-Fi version starts at $4.99, but the 3G version starts at $6.29 for the 16 gigabytes. So they're almost around the same price. So the Galaxy Tab seems like it should cost less due to the screen size, but it's still quite expensive. Probably because these two right now are the leading devices in the tablet market right now. So you're gonna pay a premium for both of them. So when 2011 is gonna have tablets from RIM, Asus, Acer, HP. So you should probably see some price drops between a lot of these devices. It's really hard to pick for me personally. I love the iPad when I travel, right? Because it's amazing. It's like a movie center. It's apps. It does everything for me, and I honestly use it for events when we have events like at CES or gadget events. It's fantastic. It's for displaying stuff to people. When I'm at home, I feel like I'm always grabbing the Galaxy S. It's just a little bit more convenient. So I like both devices. It's really hard for me to choose one. The Apple does seem a lot cleaner, the UI a lot cleaner, a lot easier to use than an Android device. But that's just like with iPhone and Android. So it's up to you. It's personal preference. I have to give both of these the win in terms of tablets. Make sure you can follow me at Twitter @GazelleLab for all the latest tech news. I hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks.